Flugga3 says yay, we going on an adventure. Blue2 Rocky says Flug, you don't apud huh? Flugga3 says I do. Scene 255 says I don't got a bed. Do we need one? Blue2 Rocky says took care of it. Hiuy says I got like 20 cyan beds, lol. Flugga3 says me either. Blue2 Rocky says W. Blue2 Rocky says over there. Scene 255 says well, have fun Ima watch P. Flugga3 says why? Scene 255 says I'm evil. Flugga3 says it's so pretty. Flugga3 says beautiful. Scene 255 says and deadly. Blue2 Rocky says you can look if you want. Blue2 Rocky says go under. Flugga3 says wow. Flugga3 says so is this the water temple? Flugga3 says I'm scared. Blue2 Rocky says well. Scene 255 says just let Hiuy do the work. Flugga3 says okay. Blue2 Rocky says first things first. Flugga3 says scene protect me. Hiuy says this is a new experience for me too scene, lol. Scene 255 says oh boy. Flugga3 says I am a fish. Flugga3 says blub blub. Flugga3 says blip blub. Blue2 Rocky says they all about line of sight. Scene 255 says I don't even know what happened lol. Blue2 Rocky says 40 seconds. Flugga3 says where do we go? Blue2 Rocky says water breathing potions. Blue2 Rocky says I out too. Hiuy says no. Scene 255 says dang it. Flugga3 says oh I was drowning. Flugga3 says lol. Floga3 says sucks to suck. Hiuy says that sounds painful. Scene 255 says well no shock there. Blue 2 Rocky says Flug you got his stuff? Floga3 says yet. Floga3 says I guess I'll head back to Seam. Blue 2 Rocky says can you swim back up there to give him his stuff? Floga3 says yet. Scene 255 says well your big butt was in the way after all. Scene 255 says P. Floga3 says I was. Scene 255 says kinda lol. Floga3 says I don't even know what's happening half the time. Floga3 says bring it. Scene 255 says I already won P. Floga3 says no I'm wearing school outfit. Scene 255 says me too. Floga3 says yours is not appropriate. Scene 255 says yours is ugly. Floga3 says have pumpkin pie. Floga3 says you look like a kawaii slut. Scene 255 says indeed I do. Blue 2 Rocky says the map isn't filled all the way. Blue 2 Rocky says wrong map Flug. Floga3 says wait why is it wet? Hiuy says because it was put in water. Scene 255 says water. Blue 2 Rocky says because it soaked up a lot of water. Floga3 says will this dry it? Hiuy says want your sponges back bun? Blue 2 Rocky says I don't know. Hiuy says yeah. Blue 2 Rocky says screw your boat. Floga3 says what the? Floga3 says Hiuy kumapo. Blue 2 Rocky says rejecting my Jesus powers. Flugga 3 says I took ice road last time. Flugga 3 says I wanted a romantic boat ride. Scene 255 says Mayor Bun will remember that. Flugga 3 says, sad face. Blue 2 Rocky says that's why you choked then and dragged them through the water to the other side. Flugga 3 says goodbye donkey. Hiuy says get off. Flugga 3 says we will come back for donkey one day. Scene 255 says don't worry it's an S. Blue 2 Rocky says sorry. Flugga 3 says are we going in there? Scene 255 says and into the hole. Flugga 3 says yikes. Flugga 3 says I gotta say that adventure to Water Temple was really fun y'all. Flugga 3 says let's do it again sometime. Hiuy says yeah it was a neat experience. Scene 255 says 3/10 too much water. Flugga 3 says what the? Flugga 3 says Bun is magic. Blue 2 Rocky says I piss fire, poop eggs and walk on water. Flugga 3 says Jesus. Flugga 3 says can we not go underwater so I accidentally drown you? Flugga 3 says that would be nice. Scene 255 says sounds good to me. Blue 2 Rocky says accidentally. Flugga 3 says it was not on purpose. Flugga 3 says I see a bunch of trees. Blue 2 Rocky says get up on top of the tress Flug. Scene 255 says Flugga. Scene 255 says next to you. Flugga 3 says seeing. Scene 255 says, tongue sticking out. Flugga 3 says what's wrong with Ding Dong? Scene 255 says Dong is always on her mind it seems. Hiuy says you can't add an enchantment to a weapon that's already enchanted. Flugga 3 says ah. Blue 2 Rocky says unless you get it from a villager. Flugga 3 says so I can't ding dong the sword? Flugga 3 says Hiuy touch my dead bush. Hiuy says okay. Flugga 3 says I am a plant dead bush. Scene 255 says that's my job for the dead part. Flugga 3 says he'll get the sand for dead bush. Flugga 3 says dead bush dead bush dead bush dead bush. Hiuy says I like your dead bush. Flugga 3 says dead bush bush bush. Flugga 3 says dead bush. Flugga 3 says dead bush. Flugga 3 says dead bush. Scene 255 says I'm not a fan of bush. Flugga 3 says what about? Flugga 3 says dead bush. Scene 255 says a little more. Scene 255 says no think just do. Hiuy says big brain. Flugga 3 says dead bush. Hiuy says yes. Flugga 3 says dead bush 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 dead bush. Flugga 3 says dead bush. Scene 255 says dead bush goes well with melons. Hiuy says guys, something's wrong with her. Flugga 3 says dead bush. Scene 255 says you just now know. Hiuy says Jason back up further and they will jump over. Blue 2 Rocky says this is my life. Blue 2 Rocky says sighting underwater. Blue 2 Rocky says fishing. Flugga 3 says NMO. Flugga 3 says no. Flugga 3 says Nulu. Scene 255 says fish bunny. Hiuy says done. Flugga 3 says Hiuy. Flugga 3 says Hiuy. Flugga 3 says NOOO. Flugga 3 says, crying face. Flugga 3 says I give up. Scene 255 says XD well. Flugga 3 says I don't want bunnies. Hiuy says I made 9 fences, only needed 2 LOL. Flugga 3 says get back here. Flugga 3 says okay lock it up. Scene 255 says burn them. Blue 2 Rocky says killed 3 already. Hiuy says I got good for villagers. Blue 2 Rocky says it's called a purge. Flugga 3 says sigh LOL. Blue 2 Rocky says not all of them. Scene 255 says wahahaha. Flugga 3 says out. Blue 2 Rocky says relax. Blue 2 Rocky says relax. Flugga 3 says I want steak. Blue 2 Rocky says just give them more space. Scene 255 says death is over now Flugga. Flugga 3 says I gotta kill them all. Hiuy says Flugga chill. Hiuy says Itu are beating them with a pickaxe. Flugga 3 says, fine. Flugga 3 says I didn't want to kill any of them. Flugga 3 says this is y'all's fault. Flugga 3 says OMG it's some dude. Flugga 3 says Hiuy look. Hiuy says Yediot villager. Flugga 3 says wow rude. Flugga3 says I was like it's great to see him and he says ER. Flugga3 says oh I need 32. Flugga3 says well. Scene 255 says yup. Flugga3 says this was a waste of time. Hiuy says yeah how much did you bring? Flugga3 says this is how much I brought. Hiuy says 2. Flugga3 says LOL. Hiuy says LOL. Scene 255 says XD. Hiuy says after this they go to bed. Flugga3 says who's the merrier? Flugga3 says mayor. Hiuy says good question. Hiuy says me I guess. Flugga3 says then I'm the queen. Flugga3 says slaves. Flugga3 says go to your houses. Hiuy says please don't hit them. Flugga3 says good slaves. Flugga3 says, laughing face. Hiuy says LOL. Flugga3 says this is how I go downstairs now. Flugga3 says wait come back. Hiuy says you pushed me. Flugga3 says okay time for Flugga's lame jokes. Flugga3 says a man walks into a bar. Flugga3 says then he wakes up the next day. Scene 255 says should have ducked. Flugga3 says wow. Flugga3 says you took my punchline. Flugga3 says well the joke's ruined. Flugga3 says GJC. Scene 255 says, laughing face. Flugga3 says I quit. Hiuy says LOL. Flugga3 says Hiuy. Flugga3 says help me. Hiuy says. Flugga3 says I did it again. Hiuy says just jump. Scene 255 says creeper. Flugga3 says oh. Flugga3 says KK. Flugga3 says tie. Flugga3 says will you cheery chimichanga with a bunny dildo in my quesadillo with a baramata in a terracotta in Dead Bush Motel. Scene 255 says sure. Flugga3 says great that means you're going to kill me and bury me. Flugga3 says your dream come true. Scene 255 says with a dildo. Flugga3 says XD. Flugga3 says I'll take Lady Witch Bitch to Furry Village and leave her there. Flugga3 says since I killed your cat. Flugga3 says alright Hiuy I'm taking my favorite cat and giving it to Scene to make up for killing your cat. Flugga3 says I'll be back and sorry. Hiuy says okay. Flugga3 says I'll miss you Lady Witch Bitch. Flugga 3 says what's with this gate? Flugga 3 says how do I get in? Scene 255 says the checkpoints. Flugga 3 says checkpoints. Scene 255 says he's. Flugga 3 says elaborate. Flugga 3 says oh. Flugga 3 says then why is the sign still over there? Scene 255 says we upgraded defenses. Scene 255 says cause I'm laxy. Flugga 3 says okay where do you want her? Scene 255 says lazy lol. Flugga 3 says you'll have to keep her either on this lead or sitting. Scene 255 says in here is fine. Flugga 3 says where did you go? Flugga 3 says I was typing lol. Flugga 3 says what? Scene 255 says there's a cat hole here. Flugga 3 says WTF. Flugga 3 says seriously. Scene 255 says this was my and Bun's old house. Flugga 3 says how do I get her in? Scene 255 says but Bun moved to his base. Scene 255 says she being a pain I see. Flugga 3 says always was. Scene 255 says normally they just walk in. Flugga 3 says goodbye lady witch bitch. Scene 255 says well least she gots my cats now p. Flugga 3 says loaf you. Flugga 3 says moi witch bitch. Flugga 3 says she smells gross. Flugga 3 says I upgraded Flugga 2.0 for Halloween. Flugga 3 says LOL. Scene 255 says the Horos. Scene 255 says oh the heart. Flugga 3 says wowie that's cool. Scene 255 says with it we can breathe underwater. Flugga 3 says oh that's awesome. Scene 255 says it's what Bun was being creepy about. Flugga 3 says XD. Flugga 3 says I see. Scene 255 says P. Flugga 3 says well it's cool. Flugga 3 says okay Hiuy, I'm home. The deed is done. Are we even now? Flugga3 says LOL. Flugga3 says scene. Flugga3 says hurry the F up and finish dead bush. Flugga3 says dead bush for life. Flugga3 says scene. Scene 255 says yes. Flugga3 says okay good. Flugga3 says, smiley face. Scene 255 says I was trying to write a sign. Flugga3 says a sign? LOL. Scene 255 says Flugga3 says I guess it could say it's a sign. Flugga3 says that I should leave. Flugga3 says goodbye. Scene 255 says P. Flugga3 says scene lead the way. Flugga3 says dead bush motel. Flugga3 says XD. Scene 255 says fun with dumb motel time. Laughing face. Flugga3 says 1A. Scene 255 says emeralds. Blue 2 Rocky says same map. Hiuy says oh yeah it's the exact same. Blue 2 Rocky says ours then. Flugga3 says I didn't bring any money. Flugga3 says Hiuy can you pay for our room? Scene 255 says then be gone thought. Flugga3 says scene take this as insurance. Flugga3 says that I'll pay you. Scene 255 says well, alright. Flugga3 says we good now? Scene 255 says Mayor Bun is that fine? Flugga3 says yikes. Flugga3 says Hiuy I'm scared. Hiuy says does that count with black fur? Scene 255 says not racist if it's a black guy though. Flugga3 says could we go to our room? Blue 2 Rocky says go to the room. Scene 255 says third floor, all the way to the left. Scene 255 says room 3A. Blue 2 Rocky says kinda been handling the flyers. Scene 255 says had to pee huh? Flugga3 says yes. Hiuy says nah, I always check out how luxury the bathrooms are. Hiuy says it's not weird. Flug3 says this play is nice. Scene 255 says indeed. Flug3 says place. Scene 255 says have fun y'all. Scene 255 says, tongue sticking out. Flug3 says there is no TV. Scene 255 says it's the couple's room. Hiuy says you don't need TV to have a good time. Scene 255 says you'll figure it out. Flug3 says and there's no bathroom. Flug3 says what do we do if we make a mess? Scene 255 says we pour okay. Scene 255 says someone doesn't pay taxes. Hiuy says that explains the dirt in the ceiling. Flug3 says it's rather dusty in here. Flug3 says let's see if they have breakfast. Flug3 says WTF. Scene 255 says Dead Bush Motel is more fun dirty. Flug3 says this is a good time. Flug3 says glad we did this. Hiuy says LOL. Flug3 says LOL. Scene 255 says Mayor Bun, why didn't you tell me people need food? Flug3 says let's go see if they have breakfast here. Scene 255 says SHHHH. Scene 255 says I'm not here. Flug3 says K. Flug3 says sir. Flug3 says I mean ma'am. Flug3 says do you guys have breakfast? Scene 255 says yum yum. Flug3 says this was dropped on the floor. Flug3 says how do I leave a rating? Scene 255 says tell the mayor. Scene 255 says I go. Flug3 says we had a nice time, we will be leaving now. Flug3 says but I didn't pay oil yet. Hiuy says SHH, let's just go now. Scene 255 says oh, you will. Flug3 says KK. Flug3 says the staff was nice. Flug3 says but the mayor made me nervous. Hiuy says was it because he pointed a crossbow at you? Flug3 says yeah lol. Flug3 says so what rating would you give Dead Bush Motel Hiuy? Hiuy says MMM. Flugga3 says I say 8/10. Hiuy says would a wait for if it was a 5-star rating. Flugga3 says same. Flugga3 says El Ego. Scene 255 says you can see it from here. Flugga3 says WTF. Flugga3 says motel is so big LOL. Blue 2 Rocky says the water. Flugga3 says pretty at nice. Flugga3 says night. Blue 2 Rocky says hurry up. Scene 255 says indeed. Hiuy says feels more like a hotel than a motel, that or I don't know the definition of a motel. Blue 2 Rocky says use the middle to breath. Hiuy says I thought motels were walk-in rooms. Flugga3 says that's really neat. Flugga3 says we are so high up LOL. Flugga3 says kinda scary. Flugga3 says neat though. Blue 2 Rocky says hit F1. Scene 255 says AHH, I can see my graveyard from here. Flugga3 says it's pretty. Flugga3 says almost can see me and Hiuy's house LOL. Flugga3 says wait scene your motel doesn't have any dead bushes. Flugga3 says D. Scene 255 says nope. Flugga3 says I know just what to do. Flugga3 says knock knock. Scene 255 says yo. Flugga3 says here it is. Flugga3 says the thing that started this meme. Scene 255 says I got the put. Flugga3 says the almighty dead bush. Hiuy says please don't make a dead bush shrine. Scene 255 says LOL. Hiuy says or Church of the Dead Bush. Flugga3 says it's perfect. Scene 255 says there we go. Flugga3 says Dead Bush Motel is awfully complete. Flugga3 says dead bush. Flugga3 says dead bush. Scene 255 says dead. Scene 255 says bush. Flugga3 says yes.